All right, so welcome guys again to Colorado Pauper. Um, we're trying something new. I realize that there's a lot of black space in the beginnings and in the middles of the stream, so I figured you might want to see our faces. And with me is one of the more beautiful specimens of our meta, Rob M. Yeah,
I,
nice
I
pose,
do have a
Vogue,
beautiful
Vogue,
face.
Vogue.
Thank you. Thank you. It's me. Yeah. Hello.
Um, And so we thought that it might be nice to include our faces while we do this conversation. If it doesn't work, please let us know. If it does work, we're geniuses. So just
Yeah.
really win-win for us, I think.
Yeah. I think you should
Um,
let us know regardless because, I just love praise for my beautiful face, but that's neither here nor there. We can keep going.
yeah, we can keep on. Okay. You guys, I think if you've been watching these, probably know me. If you haven't been watching these, my name is Arash. I've been doing this for a couple of weeks now. Um, I just really kind of want to showcase the brew challenge that we've been going through, first of all, and then also, um, highlight that Colorado is a cool place with cool people playing Pauper. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think the brew challenge is very interesting because we're seeing a lot of people who are iterating off of pre-existing archetypes and also creating brand new ones that all seem very powerful.
yeah,
And just knowing that the popper format kind of has like kind of a flat power level to it, we're seeing a lot of decks that I feel like could emerge to be actually something that's pretty real. So we're kind of on the frontier here of all the new exciting stuff that's happening in the world of popper.
yeah. I agree with that. I have a lot of thoughts about that. We don't have to go into it here, specifically as to like what constitutes a brew,
Mm,
and stuff like that. But we don't have to go into it right now necessarily.
let's not.
Yeah, let's not and say we did. All right, cool. So, all right, Rob, is there anything you want to say about do you want people to know about you? Anything you want to say?
Um, I've been playing Magic for quite a long time now. Couldn't tell you how many years, but probably the majority of my life. And with that, also been playing a lot in the popper scene here locally. Really appreciated the community that we have out here, and just supporting and kind of commentating games seems really exciting to me. Not only for my own brew that's I'm working on, but just to also see what else is out there. So I think what we're going to go into this video is it you playing Arash?
It is me playing, which is a little embarrassing.
Well, just for you, maybe for me, but we'll see that when this is all said and done.
Yeah. Um, cool. Yeah, super excited to have you. You're ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Sick. Um, so I had told myself that I wasn't going to actually like uh, play at all on
Mm,
camera unless I like chose someone and they were like part of the and they went and like without unbeknownst to knowing, which is what happened here. I really
hmm
like Ramona, who is the other person playing. They consistently have very cool brews, a lot of like very aggressive brews. The one that we're
hmm
watching today is going to be like something that, as you said, they've been working on for a very long time. So really excited to get Ramona on. Um, wanted Ramona on the screen, and then we got paired. So here
So
we
there you
are.
are. Yeah, yeah. It turns out that way. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Ramona brings. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek into what they were brewing, what they brought?
Yeah, so Ramona has been working on this concept that originally was called Demir Scam. A lot of mole drifters, a lot of like supernatural stamina
Hmm
effects, kind of like leaning into that like overall value engine, like trolls and exhume and stuff like that.
Nice.
Um, and they've recently actually shifted it towards being less um, scammy and more kind of what they're calling blue gardens, which I think is
Okay.
very cool. Um,
Very interesting.
yeah. And then what I kind of like wasn't sure what to build this week. My other two builds were a little bit whatever. So I kind of like brewed up Esper Control,
Mm,
using Jeskai Control as a basis.
okay.
Um, a lot of thoughts on the effectiveness of that. It actually kind of like made me understand a lot of the choices that Jeskai Control makes nowadays.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's not super brewy. I would say that this is on the lighter side of brews, but here we are. You can't tell,
Yeah.
but this is a mirage island. It's very beautiful.
That's what the glare does to it all. It equalizes everything here. So,
Yeah, yeah. Should it be
mm,
equalized? Who knows? But it is, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, here we are. Well, I see you brainstorming here, and seems
mhm.
like you're digging for maybe another land there. Is that a desert in your hand?
No, it's a plains.
Oh,
Um,
plains. Okay.
yeah, but yes, I was looking for another land. I think most of the game I'm looking for lands.
Okay.
Um, and that was a upkeep brainstorm. So I played the plains
Upkeep.
out. Yeah, yeah, played the plains out. On one mana here, but it looks like my hand is like mostly blue and black, so not doing great right now.
Yeah, yeah. I see that snuff out in your hand, maybe a little bit landlocked as it is, as you don't have a swamp. And looks like Ramona's tapping two for an Ichor Wellspring, so
Yeah.
another draw. And then you don't have much to say about it, unfortunately, but passing
No, I do
turn.
have another brainstorm, so hopefully that's a little bit nicer. I mean, if I
Mm,
get my lands, my hand is super stacked. But
for sure, for sure.
and I think I find
Yeah.
two lands here, so I'm sitting pretty.
Okay.
Also, I spent a fair amount of time talking about how nice my islands are. Ramona, no shab. These are unglued swamps, like
Can't go
pretty
wrong with
nice.
Ungulate. Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And seeing the turn pass back, so I see an unexpected fangs in their hand,
Yeah.
and not a lot to do in the creature side of things. I imagine their deck is trying to go a little bit faster, but maybe
Yes.
playing a little bit more into your game here as we see you hit land four. So I see that Mole Drifter in hand. I see a cast down. Seems like you're pretty wrapped up in terms of creatures if Ramona is going to
Mm.
commit anything to the battlefield. But as you were talking about before, they're a little more controlling. So maybe we'll see this game kind of. Be a little bit of that battle of resources as time goes on.
Yeah, and notably, I still don't have a black source. That's a glacial floodplain. So here
Mm,
I'm just like value wall drifting,
okay.
hoping to hit an ephemerate.
Hmm.
I might have an ephemerate here. I do have an ephemerate. Okay,
Nice. Okay.
so
So you go
draw
for
another
the
two.
ephemera. Yeah, stacking your triggers appropriately, evoking that Mole Drifter, and having it so that the sacrifice is on the bottom of the draw two, and then yeah, drawing a ton of cards here and going to discard and discarding that snuff out leaves you in a feels like a pretty good place, you know.
Yeah, and I didn't think that the snuff out was going to be particularly useful, seeing as Ramona had played like only swamps. Um,
Hmm.
so I was like, this is probably fine to discard at this point. No real reason to think about it too hard.
Yeah, definitely. And as we
And here we
see Ramona
see,
now cycling that troll to get a blue-black land, that's gonna
yeah. And I think
in
that
game.
Ramona plays the artifact lands not necessarily for any synergy, but mostly for just getting another target for fanatical offering effects, dispute effects, sort of
Ah,
thing.
okay.
Yeah. Um,
Well, that seems pretty nice, especially in this matchup where their creatures may not be on the battlefield for very long.
yeah. And here I try to exhume a brainstorm, but Ramona says no.
Okay, unfortunate, but Ramona does get that Troll of Khazad-dûm off the battlefield off
Yeah.
that Exhume. We know that you had a cast down in hand before, but again, you are still searching for black sources, right? So this is,
Yeah,
uh,
this is pretty rough times.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and it looks like I just draw another island for turn. Um, I don't I don't know what I play here, but I think that this is slowly going to become a problem for me.
I'd
Um,
imagine so.
okay, here I'm doing auger digging for Lauren revealed, honestly, and I
Uh,
shuffle. But I don't think that
that's
either of those were swamps, so I think that I'm still fine.
feeling vindicated in your decisions here. You know, I
Yeah.
imagine that troll is going to
Oh
be
wait, I am
a
not allowed
bigger
to
blow.
attack this, I don't think, because I just ephemerated it. That's me being a
No,
cheater. I'm sorry. Call the
cheating on
Hague.
camera.
Cheating
Yeah,
on
catching it
camera.
for yourself. You know,
Yeah.
hey, here we are.
Yeah, it's true. Um, honestly, that's kind of a war crime. We should, yeah,
Yeah, I
report
think
that
capital
somewhere.
punishment is the correct choice for you. So I'm glad that we captured this on camera now so that we
Yeah,
know how to punish you later. So this is all well and good.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And you can see off to the side, Max giving me my deck box, which I then promptly forget until the next day.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, interesting play here now. Ramona is going to be attacking with that troll. I imagine you say no blocks because you can't block, and then they're going to be going for an unexpected fangs. And yeah, you don't have a response to that, so you're taking seven, they're gaining seven,
Yep.
and this troll, yeah, as you talked about, coming a problem now a little more quickly here as you're on a what is that 2-turn clock from this point.
Yeah, basically. And honestly, the life gain that they lost from the Muldrifter fraudulently attacking is more than made up for by the 7
Yeah,
that they're
yeah.
grabbing.
So we don't have to take you out back anytime soon, but
I
we'll
mean, you
be
might
looking.
want to regardless, but you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you have that decision for yourself if you really want to. I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not gonna be a part of it either. So you can't get me on that one. But
I
I
do
just want you
respect
to be
that.
in
I do
control of it.
respect that.
Yeah.
Um, and here I think that this is a kind of a desperation murmuring mystic that I'm playing out. Yep, there we
Mm.
go. Just sort of like gotta get 3 blockers somehow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You got to do what you got to do, and I think you had some other counter magic to hold up at this point. It seemed like,
I
yeah, you
have a
did have
counter
that
spell,
counter
yeah. So
spell
I
in
just
hand.
have like a protected murmuring mystic, and my thought process is if this resolves, then um, I'll be fine. If this doesn't resolve, I was probably gonna die. That doesn't survive, I was probably gonna die regardless.
Yeah, I like going for that play though. It's like high risk, high reward, but in the position that you're in, realistically, you kind of have to get something going. And yeah, if Ramona has the kill spell, it's like, okay, well, I probably lose this match anyway. But if
Yeah,
they don't, well, maybe there is the option to turn this around because yeah, 3 blockers, ideally maybe 3 birds in front of that troll, so you can survive at least one more turn until you find your black source is all you
yeah,
need. So kind of a tenuous spot here. I imagine a little nervous, but you do have a lot of live draws, especially with that snuff out in hand, to
yep.
make this a game still.
And here, I counterspelled the Muldrifter. Just because I don't
Okay,
want more threats, I currently only have 3 blockers. So, and also I don't really want. I want the bird. I want the just like don't want them to have the value.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think, yeah, just eliminating those attackers and threats that are going to be coming your way and just trying to make this game a lot smaller for you so that
yeah,
you can turn the corner more effectively, especially now that this Murming Mystic has survived, I think, 2 turns. You
hmm
imagine that Ramona doesn't have a kill spell in their hand. So your game plan is simple. We have to be able to survive until this troll dies.
yep. That's exactly right. And I still haven't found a land. I'm still sort of
Well,
like um, trying to figure it out. But I do grab this ephemerate with my Archaeomancer. So have the engine sort of online, just sort of waiting
mhm.
for things to um to start working out.
Yeah, and looks like you're going for that ephemerate, I imagine, on the mole drifter to draw 2. Oh no, you're doing it on
No,
the
I just
Archaean.
wanted a
Maybe
counterspell.
even better. Yeah,
I still need. I'm still on the modus operandi that murmuring and like all my hopes and dreams are in this murmuring mystic.
yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, imagine Ramona here, not incentivized to play anything pre-combat, knowing that you have the counterspell in hand, but it looks like they're
Yeah.
gonna be putting their mana aside for 5, knowing
I think they
that
drew
kind of
another
signals, I imagine, to
Muldrifter.
you it's a mole drifter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Muldrifter. Here I put 3 things in front to block.
And although
And
Ramona is gaining this life, their Murmuring Mystic can close out games relatively quickly if left unchecked. So,
I really don't think that it matters. I mean, I think that life is useful, obviously, but against a control deck, I don't think life really matters.
mm-hmm.
Because I'm either gonna have you on a lock and eventually beat you, um, or like things are gonna, or you're gonna win. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And then there we see Ramona tapping out for another Trollakaza Dune. And
hmm
of course, you got the counterspell. All the information was face up. I imagine from their standpoint, they're thinking that, okay, this troll, it's going to be going to the graveyard, but we need to make something happen here as you have enough blockers to kind of block and null the attack from this troll here. So having them draw 2, maybe even 4 more cards seems like their game plan from here.
Yes, I agree. And honestly, at this point, I was like, this blue white control doesn't seem bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're making this game, pretty close regardless. It's almost like there could be a really good blue-white deck in the format that really utilized Murmuring Mystic, but
Yeah,
maybe we'll explore that within a different brew.
yeah. Um, I do have 2 murmuring mystics here, so I think I'm slowly turning the corner. Like
Hmm.
I have this ephemerate in my hand. I have 3 mana up. One of them is a blue white land. So the idea here is that just continue putting things in front. Um,
Yeah, and I see you going for that ephemerate there on the Archaeomancer,
yep,
likely picking back up that counterspell. There you go, making more birds, blocking the troll. All seems like a tough position for Ramona to be in, but I do appreciate that they're trying to still play tight here, where they're not casting their spells on their first main phase to give you more blockers. They're
yep,
trying to whittle down your defenses, and they do have that cushion of life total here, and the troll isn't going away anytime soon from what they can see. Now,
yeah,
I don't even know if they know that you're playing that third color in black. So in Ramona's seat, I could even see them saying, okay, this troll, it's going to be living. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about like a Journey to Nowhere sort of effect, but we have to keep turning this thing sideways and try and get in a position where we can whittle you down because one more unblocked hit is
yeah, and I'm
going to
dead.
be the game.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that Ramona has seen the snuff out.
Mhm.
So they know that I'm on. They know that I'm on three colors, but I'm
That's a good point.
certainly am a little mana screwed. Um,
Hmm.
but here you see me sigh a sigh of relief because I think I just drew a. Oh yeah, I drew a brainstorm into a Lauren revealed.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
So
And
I'm
within that,
excited.
it seemed like you ephemerated your Archaeomancer, getting back the ephemerate, so you
Hmm.
can kind of keep this loop going, and you found even more ephemerate effects and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, this is where I imagine we're going to start to see you turn the corner, even more
Pretty
so than you
hard.
were with the second Murmuring Mystic on the battlefield. And
Yeah,
if we're in Ramona's position, okay, we have to start thinking about how we're going to realistically deal with these permanents as our aggression is coming to a halt pretty quickly.
for sure, for sure. And Ramona's in a little bit of a lock here, just because I do have this ephemerate loop going, and they don't
Hmm.
know it, but I have two ephemerates, so
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
turning pretty bad pretty quickly. Um,
yeah, definitely so.
but I'd like to point out Ramona's been working on this deck for a really long time. You can tell every single art here is very intentional. Every like card that they've chosen is really cool, and you might see this soon.
Mm.
Um, but the Mole Drifters, they actually they altered.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
was
they
looking
look
at
really
those and I
nice.
was wondering what they were because I'm like I don't remember ever seeing that Muldrifter art before. Yeah,
No,
and
they do it themselves. Yeah, it's really nice. They actually look really
nice.
good. I was considering commissioning Ramona for covering up some UB arts that look kind of ugly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And signs of maybe some desperation here as Ramona is really trying to dig through their deck and draw as many cards as possible. We saw that toxin analysis just to get the clue out so that they could
Hmm.
dig deeper, and then going for yet another sacrifice effect where that Reckoner's Bargain, where they could go on the Ichor Wellspring and potentially draw three cards. You counter it, so then they're only drawing one card from the Ichor Wellspring hitting the graveyard. But yeah, they're trying to get things going. They are evoking this Muldrifter here, I believe.
Yep.
So
Yep.
drawing two more cards, but that's in the graveyard, and you got to imagine that just any permanent that's not sticking on the battlefield to threaten your life total is in a rough place to be. And yeah, they're going to turn the troll sideways, but plenty of flyers to be blocking that. Okay,
Yeah.
now we
So here
see
I just
all.
like put literally just put seven birds in front of
Yeah.
and there go up to 44. But I think at this point, as I said before, like I don't think life really matters here.
Hmm.
Because I'm just going to be chugging along. Um,
Right.
and this is I don't I'm not saying that Ramona does this. I think Ramona is a very smart player. Um, but a lot of times people don't recognize that they're in a lock
Hmm.
and will oftentimes not concede. But I think
Right.
that this is basically as locked as it gets. I don't think that there's any sort of like coming out from this.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's any direct damage coming from the blue-black deck that could
No.
be threatening your life total at this point. Ramona's really trying to win by putting threats on the battlefield and turning them sideways, and
Hmm.
with effectively every one of your turns getting you at least two birds, if not more, from the spells that you get back from this ephemerate loop. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to come back from this position as even more birds are hitting the battlefield.
I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that really what Ramona's trying to do is like not using this in like a callous way, but kind of cheese a win out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like get a big threat, exhume a big threat, cheat a big threat out, and then go from there. And
Mm-hmm.
the window is just closing on that. Here I do remember that the Archaeomancer was ephemerate and can attack. So a little bit
Nice.
of redemption for me there. Um,
Okay, yeah, only a little bit, you know.
only a little bit. One thing that I realized after this game, oh, so here the toxin analysis. Once again, this is just desperation, just trying
Right.
to like filter some card draw. We were talking about their list afterwards, and it's very much geared towards the small aggressive decks.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a lot of life gain, a lot it has like three unexpected fangs, three toxin analysis, um, really focusing on just surviving and getting a big creature
Hmm.
out and just like getting a massive amount of life in one spot. But that obviously is not as important as against control. But
Right.
honestly,
Right.
given the starting thought, I thought that Romano was going to get the first game. I really did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, as you saw, they were kind of treading water for a long time there, and as you show your hand to basically to say that this is the game's wrapped up, we can
Yep.
go ahead and take this to the second one. But with that, I do want to talk about also kind of the meta that I've seen sort of pop up here in the Colorado scene when it comes to like that gearing your deck towards aggressive decks or control decks and things of
Yeah.
that nature. I feel like we do have kind of not as many combo players to keep things honest, or not as many Madness Burn players as well. You'll
Yeah.
see like one or two come out each week, but a lot of what we do see is kind of these aggressive decks that turn creatures sideways, and then a lot of control decks, which makes for fun gameplay, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I think what Ramona is doing there to kind of gear their deck towards some of these matchups and thinking about the creatures matchups does make a lot of sense.
I agree with you. I've been thinking I've been trying to in this brewing challenge create a lot of combo decks, and it's sort of making me realize that the combo decks that are good in Pauper are just like known quantities, and everything
Mm.
else kind of like super sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with combo, right? It's
Yeah,
you are if the deck is terrible until it's great, and
yeah,
then once it's great, then that's when things really are off to the races. And trying to find that is not as easy as it looks, to say the absolute least.
yeah, for sure. I think I bring in like a crypt incursion, and I basically cut all the snuff outs and bring in some like dispels and stuff, and a crypt incursion and some like graveyard hate. And I think that Ramona likely brings in like some duresses and stuff. That's all I have to say about sideboarding. Um,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I wish I think that all the really strong combo decks in Pauper currently um have been banned. Honestly, with like sort of good reason. Like
Sure.
they put a lot of pressure on the format. Like with Basking Brood Scale, it like becomes a snuff out format, or like it just becomes like,
Mhm.
do you have interaction or you're dead? And then it pushes out all these like Red Rally and like Elves and White Weenie
Mhm.
and all these
Mhm.
like interactive playing Magic, like putting rectangles and turning them sideways sort of decks get invalidated by those creature combo decks if they're very good.
Right.
And I don't think in terms of like high tide and stuff like that, we don't have fluster storm. We
Sure.
don't have force of
Sure.
negation. So high tide is just like operating on a different register. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I like where the combo decks in the format can exist as you can interact with them in a way which I guess doesn't I want to say like doesn't behoove you to completely change your deck
yeah,
with drastic care or uh, with that I think like you talk about having a snuff out format things of this nature it's like yeah that kind of warps everything around it. But going back to the game that we have on hand here, we see what you talked about with that sideboarding, where Ramona has that duress, and they're going to be looking at your hand, which you have the two augurs, you have a brainstorm, you have a cast down. What's that third white card in hand?
it's ethereal haze. It's basically a fog, but it's a little bit better than a fog. It says creatures this turn cannot cause damage, so it
Okay,
also prevents pings and stuff like that.
that's really nice.
Um, yeah,
Okay, and another
another
duress.
duress.
Yeah. I imagine that
So
Thraben Charn is going down, but at the same time, the Thraben Charm and the cast down do a very similar job here.
yeah, I think that Ramona was really not sure what to do here because because I didn't have the mana to cast the Thraben Charm either. But it is a
Mm-hmm.
higher value object. Um, yeah, and I just blind augur here into a dispel, which is fine.
Nice hit. Yeah.
Yeah, can't complain too much.
No, and see, this is, one of the difficult points of being and playing these like exhume decks that I found, and that's kind of what I've been trying to brew around as well. So similarly, this exhuming the troll is that if you're not doing that very quickly, then the game can become very awkward, where
Yeah,
now you see that you have effectively 1 to 2 answers for their creatures that they could be putting out, and Ramona committing a Nihil Spellbomb to the battlefield feels like they have kind of a lot of work to make up here, especially knowing that the first creature that they put down is probably not going to survive very long. And yeah,
yeah, and you end up having to warp your mana base a lot. I think that Ramona just drawing cards here, just like recycling the Nile
the
Spellbomb.
Spellbomb, yeah.
Yeah, I play another augur and grab a brainstorm from it. But it looks like Ramona is a little land screwed here. Not able to really capitalize. They have a good hand, but not really able to capitalize on anything. Um,
Right. Yeah, seeing at least 2 mole drifters there, and oof, having to eviscerators
yeah,
inside their own vault of whispers to try and dig to what I assume is that blue source, which they defined in a Demir aqueduct, but
which is kind
certainly
of
not the
awkward,
blue
right?
source.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And here you see the GoPro sort of adjusting. I don't know why it does that. I'm gonna look into it.
I think we need to threaten this GoPro. Maybe with a good time, maybe with a
Maybe
bad
with a
time. I
good
don't know.
time. Yeah, good touch, bad touch, good cup, bad cup, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah. Oh, they
I
do
wonder
find
who.
two lands here. They have a yeah. So they bring back the Patanda Dimmer Aqueduct, and now they have 7 cards, and it looks like 2 swamps. So after this turn, they're actually pretty okay. Um, and here I've been showing Ramona my hand, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm casting a brainstorm now, so I'm going to put them all back into my hand, and you're not going to know which one is which.
Right, right.
Which I
I
think
imagine.
is valid, right? Like I think that's fine.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I also imagine from here you're looking at your hand, and Ramona hasn't presented a threat very quickly, so I imagine the fog's going to be going back in the
Yeah.
deck. Holding on to the cast down seems like a sensible thing to do, as well as the dispel. But it looks like you potentially don't have a way to shuffle from here, which is not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination, as you're continuing to do exactly what you want to do, which is hit land drops and
Yeah.
probably this Archaeomancer to the field soon enough.
Yes, I thought I had a learn reveal that I may have misplayed it. I played it earlier. I could have waited and done it like with the brainstorm, but
Mhm.
I didn't think that it was too important. Um, and all the cards that I put back were like fine, so I was like, it's fine. Like I can just like have another brainstorm, like just do my thing, put a little bit of pressure on, and then I have an answer to the first threat in the cast down, so
Mhm.
it's fine.
Yeah, as we see, Ramona. Interesting. I didn't know this was in their deck, which is that sneaky snacker. That could be a great way for them to kind of come back into this game where they're
Yeah.
threatening your life with these permanents that are pretty hard to deal with permanently, as it were, as they go for that Mole Drifter, drawing 3 cards when all is said and done, thus getting the snacker back on the battlefield. So they're starting to kind of make a game of this where it looked like they were out of it before.
Yeah, and actually Ramona discarded that to hand size. They don't
Oh,
have they
perfect.
only have 2 sneaky snackers, and they don't have a way of naturally discarding.
Nice.
Yeah. I play
Well,
a
this.
Mole Drifter out here, just like and play an island. I still have the dispel up. I'm feeling pretty okay. Like I don't feel
Mhm,
like I'm in any danger at all. I think that the nature of control in Pauper is just if you someone once told me that for with control, the more islands you put in, your chances of losing into play, like every island reduces your loss rate by 7%. I have a bunch
mhm.
of islands to play here, so
Yeah,
feeling pretty good.
yeah.
And we see this Crypt Rats here, but it's a naked Crypt Rats. They can't just activate it right away for one. And
Mm,
I do remind Ramona that I have this Ethereal Haze, which does actually blank the Crypt Rats.
That's interesting. That's an interesting push and pull. Also, just thinking about the construction of Ramona's deck here. So they're having sneaky snackers, they have crypt rats, they have this troll exhume package, as well as with the mole drifters. Their deck is really interesting, and I wonder. And I guess we also saw like Ichor Wellsprings, and then a lot of their card draw also comes from these like sacrifice effects. So their
Yeah,
deck seems pretty sweet. I see what you were talking about with that being kind of like this garden strategy where they're utilizing their permanents that either draw them cards or gain them value to kind of keep things going here. And
yeah.
as we see Brainstorm, and it looks like you're putting that Ethereal Haze back on top of your deck, but you're not shuffling, drawing that back up. And yeah, this is an interesting position because also within that, with the Ethereal Haze, yes, you can blank that, but at the same time, I believe that'll keep the Crypt Rats around, no?
It will keep the crypt rats around. And they can actually like put another trigger of damage on the stack to sort of blanket. So, I do think that I end up casting this down just to be safe. Um,
I think that's a smart decision.
Yeah, I agree with you agreeing with me on Ramona's deck construction. I think that it's very intelligent, and as I said, they've been playing it for a long time, so it's has a lot
Hmm.
of thought put into it. At the end of
Hmm.
the game, Ramona and I sort of discussed the deck a little bit, and they basically were like, "There's just too many AB combos in here. I need to maybe focus it down a little bit into um, something that's more like streamlined, which I think is
Sure.
also like just a natural process of deck building, right? Like you start off somewhere and then you start seeing what the actual necessities and needs of the deck are, and then you adjust from
Hmm.
there. Just invoking a Muldrifter here. Um, like we were talking about the supernatural stamina package, like is that necessary, right? Like it's good with
Yeah.
Muldrifter turn four, like kind of in an ephemerate sort of way, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not ephemerate.
No. Well, at the same time, I think what's really cool about the Brew Challenge when we're talking about refining these decks is that
Mhm.
there are also a lot of other people brewing, which it can kind of skew the testing that you get in some ways where you're like, well, did I lose because my opponent is playing something crazy, or was it really the card choices I've made? But because everyone is in this sort of like unsolved format, or at least a
Yeah.
majority of the players that show up, you can really take the time to not only refine your deck, but also like get some um, games in with it where the power level of the match might not be at that like tier one or even tier two, so you kind of have that wiggle room and that space to see what is and is not working and also potentially get some wins out of the match. It's not just this hostile environment.
I agree with you completely. Um, I will say that like in a given day, like 4 or 5 people are in brew challenge. So you
Mm-hmm.
like your mileage varies a little bit, but it is
Sure.
definitely very cool to have that kind of like a safe environment to brew in. I think that that's sometimes what keeps at least keeps me from brewing sometimes, where I'm like,
Hmm.
I want to brew, but at the end of the day, I also spent $7, which is not a lot of money, but I did
Yeah.
spend the money to like play, and I know for like I don't know, like I speak to Clayton or whatever, and he's like, yes, like it would be nice to be able to play brews, but he really only gets 1 day of Pauper per week, and he's like, do I really
Hmm.
want to spend that on like an untested brew?
That
Um,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, but when everyone is brewing,
Right.
then
Right.
it's a lot safer. It's a lot more, as you said, it's like much more conducive environment to sort of like feeling ready to bring it out.
Definitely. And as the game has progressed here, we see Ramona trying to claw back and gain some life here as they, I
Hmm.
believe, go for a block on your Archaeomancer, but you have, I think, two Dispels that were essentially face up, so tough position for them to be in. They're going to be taking all this chip damage, which has essentially whittled them down to 3 life here as
Yep.
they go for the unexpected fangs on their sneaky snacker, but has to know that's not going to be resolving. So this is kind of the pivotal turn here where if they can make something happen from this point, then they can start to get back on that board. And yeah, I think this kind of goes back to your play with that Crypt Rats of casting it down. That was, I think, the way that you could have lost that game for sure. And
Hmm.
just trying to, as in the control seat, deal with the thing that would potentially be your opponent's out is like also a huge thing to consider when you're in that driver's seat as we see Ramona evoking a Mole Drifter. You seeing your opponent spend 3 mana to ultimately draw 2 more cards when they're dead on board and have no blockers. I imagine you're feeling pretty good from this point.
Yeah, and I had a counterspell in hand, but I only like exactly what you're saying. I just only wanted it to counter something that would like kill me.
Hmm.
And this is just like another naked Crypt Rats, and
Right.
um, I think counterspell this. Yeah, I counterspell it just so I was like, I should just like make sure that
Might as
everything
well.
is good to go.
All right,
Yeah,
Arash, and although you cheated that first game, you
I
have
know.
successfully won the match. Who would have thought that would happen here? But yeah, that was a pretty interesting game there, I would say. It's, the nature of control here. Sometimes once you turn that corner, it's like, well, your opponent's probably not coming back from this point. But I do think that Ramona, as we saw them like playing out that game one, knowing that they did have these recursive threats in their deck, I think they could have still much more made that a game, but not having the ability to deal with like the Murmuring Mystics was pretty pivotal. And then game two there, them having that slower start to the board just puts you in a tremendous position to be able to kind of set yourself up and then not have to worry about the threats that came after.
Yeah, I think that that analysis is spot on. And honestly, to give this was the only game I won this week,
Hell yeah, nice.
so it was nice that it was on camera. Um, I I then ended up facing the only two Demir Spirits people in the field that day.
Mm-hmm.
And Demir Spirits, I found out, is an awful matchup for a control. And just a point about we've been like kind of glazing Ramona for their like sweet build because it is sweet. I like actually where my Esper Control deck was like sort of like situated. Um,
Hmm.
it made me kind of realize afterwards, looking at Jeskai lists, there is so much exile based removal in those lists.
Yes.
There's so much exile based removal on those lists. Like they have Torch Tower, they have Fang Flames, they have Ride's End. And I was like, originally I was like, why is this so important? But then
Hmm.
facing three sneaky snacker decks one after the other, I was like, I see. Like this is
Yeah.
really hard for control to deal with. Like just
Yeah.
like all the games I sort of lost were when the sneaky snackers were just like coming in for 4 damage, coming in for 4 damage, coming in for
Hmm.
4 damage. You kill them, then they draw more cards and they're coming in for 4 damage. So if I were to rebuild this, and I think I'm going to because I just bought water Bender's water skins, is I would add
Nice.
in Anoint with Affliction, and I would also
Mm.
add in Ride's Ends, which I did not have because I kind of undervalued that card. And I think that those, weirdly enough, those cards are better than cast downs.
Yeah. Well, in a sneaky snacker format, I think it makes a lot of sense to have that exile based removal. But additionally, there are certainly other decks where that exile comes into play. And even just thinking about something like in Grixis Affinity or
Yeah,
in Jund, we see them playing Blood Fountain or something like that, where, yeah, having to deal with their Chrysalis or deal with their Mirror Enforcer that fifth or sixth time just gets to be way too much for the control deck to deal with. So having that exile based removal comes at a premium, and realistically, there are some very good exile-based removal effects that are available to you in that Esper combination. But there's also thinking about even in red, like something like a suplex, which you see out of that
yeah.
Just Guy control deck as well. I think goes a super long way. And yeah, I love what you're saying there of just being like, it's one thing to be playing control, but you have to be able to show up and deal with the threats of the format because that is the quintessential control thing. If you can deal with the threat, you can deal with it cleanly and effectively. That is your avenue to victory.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, I think that that's all I really have to say for this matchup. I really like Ramona. Ramona also works at Mythic, which is where we game every single week. They're one of the
Mhm.
most pleasant people there. Really made me feel at home. Honestly, when I first came here from Denver, came here to Denver, they were probably the first person there to introduce themselves to me. Um, I've always been um, super big advocate for Pauper. They're the reason
Mhm.
why we have like I think this to this day that we were playing for something. We always play for some amount of cards, and the reason that we do is because Ramona goes through the inventory and checks for those cards and puts them up. And
Yeah.
it's just like a huge, really, really cool to have them on board. So big shout out to them.
Definitely. Ramona, a pillar of the community to say the absolute least, but also just what you talk about there, creating this welcoming environment. I know for the Pauper Nights specifically, we've had a lot of folks come in from the Colorado and central Denver area here who just really were kind of looking for that competitive outlet with Magic, or coming from Commander especially, and
Yeah,
wanting to try 1v1 formats. And Ramona and plenty other people as well, but really primarily I think Ramona has been that person that has kind of allowed this to bloom and blossom and given people that sort of confidence in that play space to create this beautiful community that we have here every Thursday night at Mythic Games. So certainly appreciate everything that they have done and continue to do for the Magic community here in Denver.
yeah. Yeah, with that, thank you so much for watching. Any last words that you want to say?
No, we got to shout out and gas up Ramona, so I feel like that's all I wanted to do with my life.
All right, same.